No. No.
In U.S. Denver, sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
Coffee, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, August 22nd, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We got a lot to talk about this hour. Mike McCoy, attorney for Mountain States Legal Foundation, is going to join us on a major victory coming out at the 10th Circuit that could affect Colorado and waiting periods. We'll get the latest from him. We're also going to be joined by Jeff Hildebrandt for some cowboy poetry. And as always, your phone calls and texts are welcome at 303-696-1971 for the phone calls. Text messages coming in 720-819-5115. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good morning, beautiful one. TGIF 74 with plenty of clouds in Denver. Expecting a high of 85 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
That he's not facing any charges at this moment. He is not in custody. He is not under arrest at this moment. So
FBI agents have raided the home of 47's former National Security Advisor John Bolton, Mustache Man, who loves war. The raid was carried out this morning in Bethesda, just outside of D.C. FBI Director Kash Patel wrote on X that no one is above the law. Bolton is a frequent Trump critic and previously accused of leaking classified material. 47 about 30 minutes ago.
When I hired him, he served a good purpose because, as you know, he was one of the people that forced Bush to do the ridiculous bombings in the Middle East. Bolton, he wants to always kill people, and he's very bad at what he does, but he worked out great for me because every time he doesn't talk, he's like a very quiet person, except on television. If he could say something bad about Trump, he'll always do that, but he really doesn't talk, he's quiet. And I'd walk into a room with him with a foreign country, and the foreign country would give me everything because they said, oh, no, they're going to get blown up because John Bolton's there. He's not a smart guy, but he could be a very unpatriotic guy. I mean, we're going to find out. I know nothing about it. I just saw it this morning. They did a raid.
So he didn't know anything about it. Jeff, did you want to say something right
No,
there?
that's exactly it. That's what press is reporting. So,
yep.
Trump,
we'll find out more at noon, or actually coming up here in about an hour, I think. Go ahead, Jeff.
Wild set of events. I hosted Mike Bolton. No, what?
John
Bolton. Gosh,
Michael
almighty.
Bolton. I'm a big fan.
I hosted
Playing
John.
an alto sax.
I love that movie. That is one of my all-time favorite movies. Is Office Space.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
I hosted John Bolton in 2017 at the Western Conservative Summit. I got to go watch that speech that he did, but that was. You still had 17 early on, kind of crossover with the neocons and the Trump administration, and that is completely broken.
Yeah,
that is complete. I mean, the neocons. Think about it: McCain, Bush, Romney.
Right.
They're all out.
I know.
All out in the wilderness entirely.
Exactly.
Nikki Haley tried to run for the primary, didn't get
Absolutely.
anywhere.
Yep.
Anywhere.
Cheney.
Yep.
Or
He's gone.
Yeah,
I think Haley was the last person standing, so she gets somewhere.
Who's that?
Was Haley the last person standing there?
Well, Nikki
Yeah.
Haley
So,
served in the Trump
somewhere.
administration, so
Yeah.
you had that crossover, right? She was at the United Nations, and then runs in a primary against Trump this last cycle. She joined us on the show, by the way. Remember that? A very kind person. But that season of the Republican Party is just gone. And I don't see any real interest to revisit it because we all lost friends in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we sit there going, what did we gain out of that?
Yeah. We don't trust them.
Exactly.
And I was thinking of Liz Cheney. I'm sorry. I was thinking of her. I know I have no idea what role she played, but you could see how her reputation is just destroyed, unless you're a Democrat, of course. 47 was in the lobby a few minutes ago at a White House exhibit.
Going to see the president at noon today for an announcement. The basis of that, we don't have full information yet, but we also just got a notice from the pool that they've been loaded into the vans for a movement this morning that was not on the schedule. No clear details yet on where the president is going, but it sounds like they might be on the move here very soon. Dana.
So on Fox News this morning, the president they reported that the president loaded the press into vans to haul them off into the woods. No, just kidding. He took them across the street from the Eisenhower office building, which is on the White House campus, and he said he's going to improve that building as well, and the beautification of D.C. continues.
Looking at so many different problems, and we're going to have this place beautified within a period of 12 months. The streets are going to be retopped, not ripped up and rebuilt, and they're no good after they rebuild them because they start settling. We're going to take off the asphalt and put beautiful, well-done asphalt. You know, if you have a good asphalt worker, it's the greatest thing you can have, but there aren't too many of them. But I know all the good contractors. So this place will be beautified within a period of months, so it'll be safe.
Beautiful. That is awesome. This guy, incredible. Wall Street opening slightly higher ahead of the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's speech in Jackson Hole this morning. Investors hope to gain clarity on possible interest rate cuts ahead of the central bank's September policy meeting. The administration preparing to hand documents over to a House committee related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The DOJ will begin delivering files today that could include all documents and communications in their possession connected to Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The president of Villanova University says reports of an active shooter on campus were a cruel hoax. There's no word who was responsible for the false report. Speaking of hoaxes, the state park ranger who we thought was attacked by another man has been arrested after allegedly stabbing himself and then reporting it as an attack by a stranger. 26-year-old Callum Haskett, that is, said that he was stabbed, and investigators discovered inconsistencies in his statements. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office arrested Haskett Thursday on multiple charges. Officials say exposure to toxic gas may have killed 6 people at that dairy in Weld County earlier this week. The county's deputy chief coroner said Thursday the deaths are being investigated as possible gas exposure in a confined space. College football tomorrow, 5 games, including Hawaii and Stanford, and the Broncos Saints preseason game tomorrow morning at 11. Rockies and the Pirates today. First pitch is at 4:40. They lost to the Dodgers on Thursday, 72 in Lone Tree, 71 in Boulder, 74 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue getting ready for the weekend. Have a great weekend. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's going to be another hot day, but starting tomorrow and gaining momentum through the weekend will be a cooling trend and an increased chance of shower and thunderstorm activity. Highs today, mid to upper 90s. Lows tonight, low to mid 60s. Upper 80s, afternoon and evening thunderstorms likely Friday. Showers and thunderstorms likely at times with highs only 70s and low 80s this weekend. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, one of the best organizations out there defending our rights in the Mountain States region is the Mountain States Legal Foundation. Man, I've been following them for a while, supporter of them. They are delivering and protecting our rights from government overreach, and they just got a big victory. This is the headline: major victory as 10th Circuit rules New Mexico's 7-day waiting period likely violates the Second Amendment. Now, you may be wondering why we're talking about New Mexico up here in Colorado. Well, this could directly affect some of the laws here in Colorado. Mountain States Legal Foundation and its Center to Keep and Bear Arms is proud to announce a significant legal victory in defense of the Second Amendment in a powerful and decisive ruling. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit reversed a lower court's decision and ordered that an injunction against New Mexico's 7-day waiting period be put in place. The 10th Circuit held that the right to keep and bear arms includes a right to acquire them in the first place, and that any arbitrary delay imposed by the state through a, quote, cooling off, unquote, style waiting period infringes on the Second Amendment protected rights of law-abiding citizens. And the gentleman that helped deliver this, joining us now, Mike McCoy. Thank you so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So how does this affect Colorado? Give us a background of this case. Love all the details, please.
Sure. So we have Mountain States has two current lawsuits challenging waiting periods like this, which we call cooling off style waiting periods. And it's important for me to distinguish out front that these waiting periods have nothing to do with the running of a background check, which for those who have purchased a firearm recently know is usually a pretty instantaneous thing. You get that background check back in the gun store within 10, 15 minutes of submitting it. So these waiting periods have nothing to do with like buying more time to ensure the person is law abiding. That happens very quickly. These waiting periods are imposed on people who have been confirmed to be law abiding, are able to possess a firearm, and they're completely arbitrary. So you go into a gun store and you say, hey, I want to buy a firearm. You pay the money for the firearm, you pass your background check, and then in New Mexico, they tell you you have to wait 7 days. Why? Because the liberals who are passing these laws assume that everyone who wants to buy a gun is likely to act impulsively, either going out and using it to kill someone else or to kill themselves. That's literally their rationale for these laws. It's trying to reduce what they refer to as impulsive gun violence. Again, the assumption being everyone buying a gun is impulsive. That's New Mexico. Colorado has nearly an identical law on the books. It's not 7 days, it's 3 days, but in every other way, it's exactly the same. You can't take the firearm that you have paid for and that you have been authorized to possess for 3 days just because. And so we have a case in Colorado challenging that law as well. So this absolutely impacts Colorado, this decision in the New Mexico case, because it absolutely bolsters our argument that we've been making in district court in Colorado, why the 3-day law is also unconstitutional and should be permanently enjoined.
That's Michael McCoy. He's the director of the Center to Keep and Bear Arms at Mountain States Legal Foundation. Big victory coming out of the 10th Circuit that could directly affect Colorado. Now, Michael, I've heard arguments on either side of this. For instance, we had a terrible scenario here in Colorado where a mom went and purchased a gun and then later that day killed her children. It was heartbreaking, and then killed herself. I mean, it became the tool for someone struggling with mental health issues to not only kill herself, but kill her children. And in that case, I would go, gosh, a 3-day waiting period, maybe somebody could step in to try to help that. On the other side, I've heard the argument that, look, you're facing a threat from somebody. Maybe you're facing spousal abuse or some form of marital abuse. You've gotten out of the house. You're trying to get away. And now you want to go and be able to defend yourself. And the state says, hold on a second. We need 3 days before you can get the weapon to defend yourself against somebody that's out there trying to harm you. So, Michael, what do you think is the best way forward with this? I understand both sides of the argument here.
Yeah, and let me say, and I do too. I prior to joining Mountain States, I was a prosecutor for the first 25 years of my career, and I did a lot of domestic violence cases. So to your second point, domestic violence victims are particularly at risk within 2 to 3 days after they initially report their abuser to the police. And unfortunately, as we know, the criminal system in both Colorado and New Mexico is such that their abuser is likely to be released on bond, and most female homicide victims start off as female domestic violence victims. So that period of time when they absolutely need to defend themselves is usually within the first 2 to 3 days after they've reported their attacker. But that, under Colorado law and New Mexico law, it's impossible for them to go get the very tool and implement they may need to defend themselves. On the flip side, your first scenario, that is horrific. And there's a dozen stories like that can also be pointed out in both states. The problem here is that's not a failing of the background check system, and that really doesn't justify infringing the rights of law-abiding citizens and those who are not suffering from a mental health issue from possessing a firearm. Right? Rights are dangerous. Whether we're talking about the First Amendment right to free speech, I can mouth off and cause potential problems based on exercising that right. That doesn't mean that you restrict that right for everybody. It means that the laws that are already on the books that deal with mental health, that deal with people who are inclined to commit criminal violence, those should be enforced first before you start restricting the rights of law-abiding citizens to purchase and possess a firearm. So that's the dichotomy here. But I don't think that because of these one-off situations that are terrible, I'm not in any way diminishing them, we then use those as justification for saying universally all Coloradans should be presumed to be impulsive, and we therefore should prevent them from taking possession of their firearm for 3 days, just because we want to try to prevent these one-off scenarios. That's not justification to completely suppress a right like that.
That's Michael McCoy, director of the Center to Keep and Bear Arms with Mountain States Legal Foundation. And from what I understand, listening to you, Michael, we've had folks from Rocky Mountain gun owners on who say, look, it's a constitutional right, no restrictions whatsoever. It protects us from the tyranny of the government. That's not necessarily the argument Mountain States Legal Foundation is making. What it seems like what you all are making is that the cooling off waiting period does infringe on Second Amendment rights. You're not calling for all efforts, for instance, a background check to be removed. You're specifically looking at the cooling off period and saying this in particular is a violation because it violates the right to acquire a gun in the first place. Is that right?
That is correct. And this case has nothing to do with challenging background checks. Background checks are fine. And again, as I said at the beginning, typically those background checks happen within 10 to 15 minutes. This case has to deal with taking someone who's been confirmed through a background check to be law-abiding and able to possess a firearm and telling them you have to wait 3 days in the case of Colorado or 7 days in the case of New Mexico to take possession of that firearm. That's a critical period of time. And over those 3 or 7 days, that person's right. Remember, we're not just talking about this, amorphous right. This is a right that's specifically enumerated in the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights that says you have a right to defend yourself against people who might attack you, against a tyrannical government, and everything in between. And so by telling people who are law-abiding, you can't take possession of that firearm, you're telling them you can't exercise that right. Can you imagine that being applied to any other right enumerated in the Bill of Rights? Can you imagine someone saying, you have to wait 3 days to go to church, or you have to wait 3 days to buy a Bible, because we might think you might use what's in the Bible impulsively or whatever nonsense argument they come up with. Or telling someone who wants to give a political stump speech, you might say something impulsive in that speech. So you know what? You need to wait 3 days, think about what you're going to say, and then go make your speech. That would never, ever survive any kind of constitutional scrutiny in any court. And so if it's not okay with these other rights, why is it okay with our Second Amendment protected right to keep and bear arms. It shouldn't be. That's the argument.
And it seems like that can't even apply to privileges. And it's important for people to understand the difference between rights and privileges, and that rights are far more protected than a privilege. But for, let's say, driver's licenses, for instance, once you are approved by the state to have a driver's license, there's no cooling off period for you to determine whether or not you should be able to drive a car, even though you can inflict a lot of damage. But in that case, it seems like it wouldn't even work with privileges either. Bill, did you want to jump in?
Yeah,
I
just was curious about when you talked about the driving example. Is what about the learner's permit? Is we do have a learner's permit before you are granted that license, and you're also trained and tested. So how does that roll into the example?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that opens up a whole different thing. We're talking about, again, the difference between a privilege and a right. There are efforts in Colorado in particular to try to require people to go through a similar type of training and testing and permitting of sorts, not of sorts, really is, before someone can exercise their Second Amendment right to protect or to protect themselves with a firearm. And we disagree with that entirely, right? I mean, we don't. To Bill's point, is that there's a difference between rights and privileges, and this is a right that's enumerated in the Constitution. We don't require people to go through some sort of training or permitting before they give a speech. We don't require that before they exercise their rights to exercise their faith. We don't tell a criminal defendant who's arrested that he has to wait 3 to 7 days before consulting with counsel in violation of the Fifth Amendment. We wouldn't do those types of things. These are fundamental rights. And so while, yeah, I encourage people who are going to go buy a firearm, get the training, make sure that you're able to operate that firearm successfully and appropriately and safely. But short of that, no, we can't start saying you have to go through training and testing before you can exercise a right, any right for that matter.
And that's Michael McCoy. He's an attorney with Mountain States Legal Foundation. And I think it's important to recognize, too, if there was a good faith effort on the side of progressives to just want to educate, then I think people would go, oh, well, all right, maybe we can discuss that type of thing. But what you've seen time and time again, particularly here in Colorado, is that the motivation of the left is to remove guns entirely from people. And so these efforts, the education efforts or the cooling off periods, whatever, just becomes the latest step that they can get away with in some cases to try to restrict your ability to own a gun, because at the end of the day, the only people that they believe should own guns is the government, and that's a problem. Mike McCoy, attorney, Mountain States Legal Foundation, where does this go? Is this going to affect Colorado anytime soon? Give us some insight on that.
Yeah, so as I said, we have a almost identical case, a challenge currently in progress here in Colorado, challenging the 3-day waiting period that exists here that's been on the books, I think, since 2023. That case is still in district court. The parties recently briefed on motions for summary judgment. And at this point, this decision will require the district court judge in that case to completely revisit the arguments that we previously made. Because the 10th Circuit not only controls the district courts in New Mexico, it controls the district courts in Colorado, obviously. It's situated in Denver. And so this is not just a decision that impacts the New Mexico waiting period. It impacts also the Colorado waiting period. It is precedent that the district court judge in Colorado handling the 3-day waiting period case here has to follow, or have to find some reason why he can not follow that, why that case is different from this one. But they really aren't different at all. And so some of the fundamental arguments that the defense, the government has been making in both New Mexico and Colorado is that while the Second Amendment gives you the right to keep and bear arms, which is specifically enumerated in the plain text of the Second Amendment, it doesn't give you the right to acquire them in the first place, which I think is a laughable argument. So you can keep and bear something, but you can't possess it first. There's no right to do that. That's ridiculous. But both the district court in New Mexico and Colorado have bought into that argument. Well, the 10th Circuit in their decision completely and flatly rejected that notion. I mean, they said that's like saying you have a right to speech and to write a newspaper, but you don't have a right to acquire the ink and the paper to do that. That's ridiculous. those steps, those requirements, like buying something, like buying a gun that is necessary in order to exercise the right itself, is protected by the Second Amendment in this particular case. And so things like that, the decision of the Court of Appeals at the 10th Circuit on this case will definitely impact the district court judge in Colorado, or at least will require him to rethink some of his past decisions on issues like the rights to acquire a firearm in the first place, and also whether or not there's a historical analog to support modern day cooling off periods. Without getting too legalistic here, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Bruin case from 2022. And in that case, the Supreme Court said a modern firearm regulation has to have some sort of analogous law that existed at the time of the founding, when we were arguing, drafting, and debating and ratifying the Second Amendment. And if there isn't some analog law, then it fails a constitutional scrutiny. So there is no historical analog for cooling off waiting periods. They don't exist. The first one did not go into place until California did one in the 1990s, which is 220 years past the ratification of the Second Amendment. So they're going to fail on that point too. And I think what this case does is it makes the likelihood of Colorado's 3-day waiting period going out the window exponentially higher. And we hope that that decision is reached here within the next few months.
That's Michael McCoy, director of the Center to Keep and Bear Arms with Mountain States Legal Foundation. Go to mslegal.org to learn more. Mountain States Legal Foundation, delivering wins for your constitutionally protected rights. That's why we're so supportive of them. Donate and support them by going to mslegal.org, mslegal.org. Michael, great work. Appreciate your time updating us, and we'll continue to follow these cases.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Thank you so much for having me, and have a great weekend.
All right, let's talk Guy Rees. Speaking of the weekend, this is a great thing you guys can do for your spouses, girlfriends. Go take them to Guy Rees, because if you want to update your home, improve your home, those types of things, well, if you're like me, I didn't know a lot about it, so I just wandered around those big box stores and tried to guess what a satin paint and sheen and all that stuff was. I didn't know. I didn't know how it was going to look in my home, and there's a lot of guesswork. Well, Nicole and I went into Guy Rees recently, and it was like a whole new world opened up to me. Professional design guidance. They showed us an incredible selection of Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. They got paint. They got home decor. They will personally help you design your home so that it looks the way you want it to do. There's no guesswork there. In fact, they'll bring out samples to your house. They'll come visit your house. They'll measure everything. You can see what the color of your blinds or paint or decor is going to look like in your home before you purchase. It's a personalized in-home consultation that's affordable. So trust the design experts. They can help you with everything from window treatments to full room decor. All you got to do is visit Guy Rees to schedule your in-home consultation. That's GUIRYS.com. GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Guy Rees. You'll be sure to thank me. All right, we're reaching the end of the show, which means the Cowboys are here to ride off into the sunset with us, and we've got Jeff Hildebrandt, cowboy poet, coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
You know Jeff's going to call me a little doggy here in a second. This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, August 27th, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 1595 South Colorado Boulevard in Denver. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, August 27th at IHOP.
Now, Bill, I chose this song to play because Bill's allowing me to control the music after torturing me last week on Friday with constant ska for 4 hours.
And there are some songs we didn't get to today we may play on Monday as well, just to make sure you get the full breadth of it, yes.
And this is El Paso by Marty Robbins.
So good.
So, any guesses to why, Jeff Hildebrand, any guesses to why I chose this song?
You're moving?
No. I found a lady down in El Paso. No, I didn't know this type of music existed. And so he doesn't really, it's not about rhyming, it's about a story.
Yeah.
Right? And this story actually connects to other stories in his catalog, in Marty Robbins' catalog.
Yeah.
So it's actually like, if you listen to his albums, you're taken on a journey through all the songs.
Yeah.
And most of the music I thought was just kind of catchy and you just dance to it. But this was the first time I went, oh, like this song connects to that song, that connects to this song. And there's a story that comes through these songs.
Yeah, there is. In fact,
which I thought was really cool. I just didn't know that.
There is a modern band that is doing the same thing, but on almost another level. I know, like Hillary starts laughing. And that band, some in the audience may recognize it, that's 21 Pilots.
Oh, yeah?
21 Pilots has been telling a story over 4 consecutive albums. And the songs lay out the narrative and what's happening, and you follow the main character of Clancy. And they just dropped the final album in, the 4-part compendium as far as wrapping up the story. And it started back in Blurryface, but it is a 4-album journey through a story of the main character Clancy. Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Do they have trumpets?
Oh, gosh.
No, they don't.
It's not that I don't like trumpets. I just don't like trumpets right in my face. So that's what's got us. All right. Well, thank you to Bill for pulling that together and sharing some of those songs.
Buddy, thanks for giving me the list. I can't thank you enough. That's fantastic.
Jeff Hildebrand, 710.
Sorry, I've got to go now.
Cowboy, poet, laureates, live in studio with us. And you've been listening to the show. He always produces some great cowboy poetry for us. It's the best part of the week as we saunter on into the weekend, my friend. What do you got for us?
All right. Now, do you really want me to do this?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Because it caught me, and it's going to catch other people as well. This might surprise you.
I don't want people getting upset because I was a member of the militia. Bear that in mind. How can we rid crime from our country, especially in Washington, D.C.? Show of force is not a good answer, though to some it seems it might be. No, the solution is not all that hard. Just wait for the midterm election. Use your vote, not the National Guard.
Now, when Jeff read that to me the first time, I went, wait, so you don't like what Trump's doing? Is that what you're like? And then he's like, listen to the beginning again.
Yeah.
If you want to rid crime from Washington, D.C. Those politicians are the real problem. Although we like Jeff Crank and Lauren Boebert.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
And Gabe Evans. They're our friends. It's the other ones. Always is, isn't it? All right, Mr. Hildebrand, what else? Mr. Cowboy. He's got a bolo tie on. He looks quite dashing.
Do cowboys still find time to rhyme when cows are bedded down, or do they just hop in their cars and beat it back to town? Do cowboys still swap stories like those hands did years ago, or is that bit of history gone like the buffalo? The romance of the range lives on around the campfire light in the minds of all the wannabes who spend each day and night doing what those cowboys did 100 years ago. And it's up to full-time buckaroos to let them think that's so. They long to ride Ben Johnson's style with smooth and flowing grace, have a showdown with a grizzled cur and spit right in his face. They're living out the fantasy in hats and chaps and vest, pretending to be cowhands in the wild and woolly West. Say what you will of tenderfeet, of dudes and wannabes, but if the West is to survive, it's up to folks like these. 'Cause were it not for wannabes, Why use a horse at all? They just round up cows from ATVs while making cell phone calls.
A tribute to the cowboy wannabes.
Oh, that's great. I was one of those once in my lifetime, and I firmly believed when my mom gave me that penny and I was sitting on the horse that would rock back and forth as she's checking out at the grocery store, I thought I was a Lone Ranger. I was sold on that one. Yeah, I'm not even close.
And your attitude has made you a lone ranger for a long time. Oh.
Yes. Lone stranger. Absolutely.
Do you own a cowboy hat, Bill?
Yes, I do. Do I look like an absolute idiot wearing one? Oh, yeah, 110%.
And next Wednesday, we're going to be at IHOP. What would it take to get you there in a cowboy hat?
I don't know. Let me think about that one. And it would also depend on which cowboy hat I wear. There are multiple. And this is thanks to my father. And there's one that if I had to be seen in public, yeah, I'd probably don it. But again, I'm going to make a spectacle. But it's not. You may actually enjoy the hat more than you would think, Jeff. But I don't know.
If you want to see Bill Thorpe in a cowboy hat, Wednesday at IHOP, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., I-25 and Colorado Boulevard, we'll be doing a live broadcast. Text into the show at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115.
There's interference on the signal. I can't hear the numbers.
Let's hear it. Let's hear if you want to see Bill in a cowboy hat.
We're going through. Jeff's mic is cutting out. We're going through a tunnel. Sorry.
If he's going to make me listen to ska for 4 hours, we can make him wear a cowboy hat. All right, Jeff Hildebrand, what else you got for us?
All right, I was asked to do something about John Wayne. John Wayne loved America, and he often told us so, like these lines from 1960 in his film The Alamo. When his character, Davy Crockett, joined in the fight, he explained he was just standing up for what's right. Republic, he said. I like the sound of the word. Some words can give you a feeling that makes your heart warm. Republic is one of those words. Duke's thoughts are a potent reminder to embrace the fact that we're free, but remember the cost and the lives that were lost to secure our lifestyle liberty. So circle the wagons, Pilgrim, when our freedom is attacked. Since we're all in this together, we should have each other's back.
Dang.
It's so good.
Kind of, yeah. That's really good.
When you write a poem, how do you know you've reached the end of it? Like that is it a feeling inside that you go, this thing is complete?
Yeah, exactly. That exactly happens. Then I read it to somebody and they say, I don't understand it. And I go back and do it again.
By the way, the text messages are coming in. They'd like to see, do it, wear the hat, Bill.
Oh,
they also think you'd look good in a pink tutu.
No.
7586 said that.
I have seen him in a pink tutu. It is not that
Here's
good.
the deal: is I have the legs to pull off a tutu. I could pull that off.
You do not have the legs
yes,
to
I do.
pull.
Oh, absolutely,
Bro,
do.
you wear shorts.
Legs. Yeah, I know.
You and I will
tutus.
debate everything that's under the sun. You do not have the legs for a tutu.
Oh, heck yeah, I do. Yeah, I have the legs for a tutu. I don't have any of those, thin chicken leg thingies. No, I got my. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm super muscular and developed, but I got legs. I'm not embarrassed to go flaunt the gams outside in public. I'm fine with that.
You got legs, and you know how to use them.
Yeah, yes.
It's a lethal weapon. 3-day waiting period, Bill. Pam writes, "Oh yes, Bill in a cowboy hat. I will be there." Sorry, Bill, it's happening, whether you like it or not. All right, Mr. Hildebrand, let's do another one, then we'll get to a break.
Okay. Every summer in the Southland and in the Midwest, too, there are contests to determine the best in barbecue. In the fall, you'll find them cooking over kettles, pots, and pans to see whose spicy chili is the best one in the land. And the Big Springs Biscuit Bake-Off has trail cooks far and near competing for the title of Camp Cookie of the Year. Now, they have to use Dutch ovens, and there is one other catch. They can't use any Bisquick because the dough must come from scratch. There's some made light and fluffy. Some were tall and others wide. Some had jalapeno peppers and chorizo mixed inside. Some, of course, used buttermilk. Then there's those with sourdough. But the winner had a gimmick that was judged the best in show. Seems this guy from western Kansas had an interesting trick. He baked his biscuits with handles and got biscuits on a stick that he'd dip in honey butter. Oh, it was finger-licking fun. And besides, you got a toothpick when your eating all was done. Now, the trophy's big inscription was read out to the crowd. It said, "Your biscuits are a good thing." Martha Stewart would be proud.
Oh, that's great.
That is a great one. That's called a good thing.
A good thing.
A good thing. Bill, someone's pointing out that Jeff is looking at your legs.
The other Jeff.
They're hard to miss.
Again, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Very
Just
pale.
saying, yeah.
Very.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're dad. That's a dad thing. You don't get that with the sun as often. Yeah, it's not like when I was a kid and I was outside all the time. Yeah, I will tan quickly and easily, but I just don't get out in the sun. And yeah, I got the fish legs that are all pale and pasty, but that's part of the enjoyment of being the father. That's what that's what you embrace. But yeah, we'll see.
Short pants are making me drool. 2033. I think that's what it says. I don't know.
Know about that. Yes, and there's someone else that wants to see me in a dress, which I'm just thinking that the idea of, and again, I appreciate
this is spinning off the wheels,
and I appreciate the listeners, but again, if you are imagining me in women's clothing, there's a whole other channel and show and people you should go talk to about that, because
there's
that's
a library
on you, not on me.
somewhere that
exactly.
could be done.
That's on you. That's not on me. If you're picturing me in women's clothes, again.
I would like to address that.
Hey! Well, make sure
Jeff
it is. Make sure it's short and don't run on.
Do you happen to have a Dale Evans hat that you could wear?
Ooh,
Maybe
no.
something your daughter has you could wear.
I'm not. No. But wait.
But
I might be able to pull out. I want to say there may be a pink one that flashes lights on it.
There you go.
I wonder if it's still in one of the closets. I'll have to check.
There you go.
We'll continue a very strange Jeff and Bill and Jeff Hildebrand show. By the way, happy birthday, Kelly Michaels. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710, and nobody in the dress yet. KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Not only, oh man,
I know, but you can do it. You still do the announcement.
This is Johnny Cash.
I'm doing an old one.
This is a great one. God's gonna cut you down. Also, Becky Gibbs' birthday today. We love everything she provides us for the office. She's the business office manager here, along with Kelly Michaels. All right, we got 1 minute. Jeff Hildebrandt, cowboy poet. Take it away, sir.
There's an old Western movie tradition from as far back as William S. Hart. It's making the bad man the hero, but it had a much earlier start. It's a story we read in the Bible where a man who was traveling alone was attacked by a big band of outlaws who beat him and took all he owned. As he lay in the road slowly dying, two so-called good men passed him by. Refusing to get their hands dirty, they turned a deaf ear to his cry. And the story goes on that another was walking the Jericho road, but he was considered a lowlife because of his hometown zip code. Now, he could have passed by like the others, but he didn't. He rendered first aid, then took the poor man to be treated, and this so-called bad man even paid. The man who first told folks that story had a point that he hoped would be heeded. If a lowlife can act like a hero, so can you any time that it's needed.
Great reminders. We go into the weekend.
Wow.
You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS. We'll see you Monday.